Hey everybody, it's Carolyn, and if you're new here, I help scrapbookers and journalers tell their stories in a way that feels more freeing and a lot less pressure-filled. Today, I'm showing you how I turned a simple quote into a beautiful spring-inspired page with die cuts, spray inks, stamping, watercolor, and some brush lettering. Now for this project, I'm going to be using my Year of Me 2025 journal that I handmade myself. I am so proud of it. And I'm also going to be using my spring theme prompts for scrapbooking and creative journaling. There are 5 different prompts that will help hopefully kickstart your creativity. I've been starting my layouts with prompts, and I really like this approach because it allows me to reflect and consider how I want my thoughts to be presented on the page. For this layout, I'm going to be using watercolor paper that I put in my journal. I'm going to be using these stamps from Close to My Heart, and it has related thin cuts to them. No Cricut, I know, shocker. And the watercolor paper is going to be helpful because I'm going to be using some watercolor paints. And I also sketched a layout of how I wanted this page to look. I did that because since the page is attached into the notebook, I wouldn't be able to pull it out like I would with a regular scrapbook page. So I just made sure that I had the layout kind of sketched out before I actually started creating on the page, and that would save me some heartache in case I messed up. Now I know that goes against the perfection thing that I was just talking about, but I'm still working on that. So anyway, this is basically how the layout's going to go. I'm going to use the flower stamps, the die cuts, and I'm going to use the brush lettering for the text. The first thing I'm going to do is lay down some gelatos, and I'm going to be using actually the color prompt that's included in the prompt sheet. I'm actually combining 2 different prompts. So the colors I'm going to use are going to be pastel, it's going to be yellow, light blue, a light green, pink, and like a lilac. And then I'm going to stripe those on the page and then kind of create some sort of watercolor wash with it. So we'll see how that looks. I'm using this splat mat to protect the other pages in the journal because I'm unfortunately kind of sloppy. And I could see that I might get the other pages that are completed messed up. So using the splat mat hopefully will protect the other pages and not get any watercolor on them. Now I am starting the striping process. I'm not feeling that pink that I thought was really going to be, no, I'm not feeling that red that I thought was really going to be pink. So I decided to open up another pack of gelatos that had brighter pinks in it. Overall, I'm not really happy with the colors of the gelatos. They're a little bit more muted than I thought they would be. Maybe this little color will help brighten up that. I don't know. It actually is making it more red. So here I am trying to soften up the lines between the stripes of the gelatos, and I'm still not too happy with how it looks. So what I did was I got out my watercolor paints and I brightened up the colors a little bit, and I think I liked how it looked better. And it's not a bad thing to have the watercolor and the gelatos layering on top of each other. I mean, this is what it's about. It's about experimentation and playing with your supplies. So then I decided to get out my distress inks and do a little splatter. Now the thing with distress spray inks is that if the harder you press down, the more of a splat you get, and the lighter you press, you get more like droplets. So I was trying to do more of the droplets than the splat because I still want you to see the gradient of the background. And then finally, I use my heat gun to make it dry faster. And actually the heat gun kind of brought out the metallic shimmer of the distress inks. I'm not worried about that little smudge there because it's going to be covered up, but I liked how it turned out in the end. Now I'm going to use the thin cuts from Close to My Heart and stamping sets. So these are stamps that go with the thin cuts. And no, I am not using my Cricut. Please do not tell my Cricut I am not using it for this use case. It will be very mad at me. But anyway, this is a stamp set that I've used many times, but I haven't really used the thin cut, so this would be a first. Pardon all the background noise. Everybody decided they wanted to make noise while I was trying to record today. Anyway, that's my Gemini cutting machine. It is automatic because I don't do hand cranking anymore, which is why I started using the Cricut in the first place. But this is a pretty good machine from Crafter's Companion. I like it. You just make your die cut sandwich. You push the button and it cuts for you. And here is the result of everything. Now, some people like to stamp first and then put the thin cut in and run it through the machine. And then other people like to cut first and then stamp. I don't really think there's a right or wrong way. I think it's your personal preference. I tend to mess up more when I have stamped first and then put the die cut on. I always miss it. Like it'll cut through the design in the stamped image. So this way it works better for me and I get pretty good results with it. Not bad. So I'm going to do a couple of more flowers. I don't really have an idea yet of how the flower spread frame is going to go. So I'm just going to stamp a bunch of flowers and then I'm going to use my Spectrum markers to color them in. I really like the Tri-Blend Spectrum markers because you have the light, the medium, and the dark already in one pen. And so it makes it easier to shade as opposed to trying to figure out what colors go with what like you do with the Copic markers. So I really like these, and I know there's a brush style available, which I might look into, but I have so many markers now. I really don't need to buy any more markers. I really need to use what I have. And so that's how the flowers came out, and I really like that. I printed out some photos of favorite flowers. One is like daisies that we had in our backyard, and the other is from the tulips in Turkey. Here I am kind of plotting out how I'm going to do my brush lettering. This part scared me to death because I haven't really done any artwork with brush lettering. I've just been mostly practicing the letter forms, and so this was sort of like a crapshoot. And I'm still working on like getting my letters to look good, but I'm having fun practicing brush lettering and regular lettering, and I think it turned out pretty decent for a first attempt at doing some sort of lettering design. And I'm going to put a mat around it, and then I'm going to just center it to my page since it is the center point. Before I do that, I'm going to use my We Are Makers, I guess it's just a corner rounder. I don't know if it's a crocodile corner rounder, but it's just a corner rounder. It comes in handy in a pinch. And there we have our quote, the centerpiece of the entire layout. And I decided not to use all of the flowers, just a few of the flowers because it was starting to look a little busy. And since I had photos of flowers as anchors too, it just didn't need any more flowers on the page. So I chose this quote from Emerson because I love flowers and I connect flowers with growth, new beginnings, and emergence. So this was how it turned out, and I think it looks really good. I like the background. Everything on here was an experiment. And that's what made it fun. It was just like, let's see what happens if I do a watercolor background and add some spritz to it, and then hey, let's use the thin cuts and the stamping, and hey, why not add some brush lettering and see how it all looks together. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And that's how you turn a simple quote into a joyful scrapbooking or journaling page, by experimenting with your supplies. I hope this inspires you to dig into your stash and make something. And do go outside, enjoy the warm weather, and take in all that the season has to offer. And if you like this video, please comment or ask a question, give it a thumbs up, or subscribe. You can also leave a super thanks, which helps support the work of this channel. Thanks so much for watching, and happy creating.